Hello and welcome to Ode to Games. I'm Kevin Valleen, joined alongside Zach Ross. How you doing, Zach?
Doing pretty good this week.
That's good.
New stuff coming out finally.
Yeah, new games to talk about. And we got Logan playing. How you doing, Logan?
The fall rush is here and September
Just
just started.
started.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. If you listened to a couple shows ago, we were talking about our roadmaps for the rest of the year. Mine was like 3 games, and then you guys had like 15 or 20 or something. And we're going to be kicking it off here. No More Heroes 3 is out. You guys have played some of it. Some of the reviews have been polarizing. I'm curious what you guys thought. How far have you made it so far in No More Heroes 3?
About halfway.
I think, yeah, about halfway, I'd say. It's easy to
It's
track
No More
since
Heroes.
Yeah.
it's just a list of people you have to get
Is that a good,
through.
a bad thing? Is that like...
I think it's a good thing for what
It
it's
is
worth.
exactly the same as the first two. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, so it's like they didn't improve anything
Oh.
necessarily. It looks a little better. It's not as
A little
chuggy
better?
as I thought.
Was it No More Heroes 2 like on the Wii
They're both
It
on
looks-
Wii.
in
It looks
like
better.
2010?
I was worried about the frame rate for this thing on the Switch, but it only really kind of, starts to chug during some of the fights. But the overworld's pretty good. The fights are relatively smooth most of the time, so that concern wasn't really that bad. And then other than that, yeah, it's exactly the same. There's the grind, the cheesy dialogue, the making your way through the rank of whatever. So a lot of it is it feels like No More Heroes. Which is good because the spin-off Travis Strikes Again did not feel like No More Heroes. And I feel like
Yeah.
it played a very important role in the story for this
Oh,
game,
did
which
it?
is kind of a bummer because there's a couple people we just don't know who seem like important characters.
What did you? How much did you play of that? Or did you
Like
just
20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, not a lot. We
Yeah.
didn't love it. It was pretty,
As most people
pretty
were in the
yeah,
same boat.
pretty
I
much
think.
not our speed, but once you get past that. And then there's a lot of references to the first two games, like we just don't remember because it's been so long.
Yeah.
And they just throw character after character after character at you in these games that you can't really keep track of everybody.
Which is like
but
you say it's been so long, but we played those like a year ago, and it's like, what if you like played the originals when they came out and then came to this one? You would have no idea
Unless
who
you have-
any of these people
Unless you have
were.
Logan's memory. In which case
Yeah.
maybe
I
you
don't
do.
remember them either.
Even he
That's
doesn't.
surprising.
He does not remember them.
What does
It's
that
I
say?
I cared very little about the story of these games, and they're very convoluted at times. And the boss fights are so grinding and frustrating that you often can't really follow the story because you're just like, oh my god, we just have to get through this boss.
To be
But
fair,
yeah.
the new one is a lot more forgiving. We are playing
Yeah.
on the normal difficulty. I did attempt to get Logan to play on the hardest difficulty. I realize now that probably
Not
would
worth
have been
it.
a mistake. It wouldn't have been worth it. But yes, this one's a lot more forgiving than the first two because every time you fail, there's a wheel of chance where you either get a buff or even a small chance that something negative happens. But most of the time, you get like attack up for the next chance, and then every time you die to the boss, the wheel gets slower and slower, so you can just be like get revived, full health back into the fight where you died. So that's after enough deaths, you can pretty much just keep reviving and reviving and reviving until your finger slips and you choose something else, and then you just devastated.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen to us, but we were terrified
Not
that it
yet.
was going to.
You still got half the
Not
game to
yet,
go.
but
Even when the wheel is just crawling around and you have total control over what it picks, and you want the cat is the one that gets you right back in the fight to pick up where you left off, where you died, instead of having to start it over with a buff. And when your finger hits the A button, it's like just a leap of faith hoping that it stops on the cat every time. But that is a really nice change because that was one of the most brutal things is some of the runs in these fights can be like upwards of like 5 to 7 minutes. And then like the Batgirl fight in 2, was that in 2?
I
The
believe so,
Batgirl
yeah.
fight in No More Heroes 2, that she has an infamous one-hit kill that she gets at like her halfway point in her health, and it's like it's just brutal doing that over and over. So I think it really helps balance the game, adding in this wheel where you can either come back with better attack or just get going right back at it and be able to do that. So that's a really nice change that has made the kind of the bang your head against the wall in these boss fights a lot more manageable. A couple other things they changed is in both 1 and 2, there's usually like a level that leads up to the boss. Like you do this gauntlet of like Goonies just ripping through enemies in these gauntlet fights. And there's none of that. Once you pay for the boss fight, you just go straight to it. There's no level beforehand. And what they have instead is, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called anymore. But it's basically these fights where you have to prove that you're ready to take on the boss. And there's red ones and there's blue ones scattered across the open world map. So you ride your motorcycle to them. And some areas you need to do like all 3 blues. Some you need to do 2 red and 1 blue. I don't really know what the color difference means. It seems like it's just
Seems
more
arbitrary.
annoying to track them down. Like that's all it seems like it's for. But that's where you do like your normal enemy fights instead of within the same level as the boss fight. And the good thing about that is that you get money from those now. You get money from these qualifying fights. I think that's what they're called. And that helps with the grind to pay for the boss fights. It's because you're getting money for just beating up the normal enemies rather than needing to basically just grind mini games to have enough money to go do the
Which we still have to do a little bit. It's not completely where all these fights and you'll have enough money to take on the fight. But there are mini games scattered about. The little islands that divide up the world of this game are pretty barren. There's not a lot going in them. They do look like a world in a Wii game.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. And you just have to. The motorcycle riding's fun, but you hit something even a little bit, and Travis goes flying off of it, which is a little annoying. But some of these mini games have been fun. The lawn mowing is classic. No More Heroes. But there was a really fun one where you actually get to ride the motorcycle and try and crash into a car and try and destroy it, and it has a health bar. So there are a lot of varied mini games that you can play to try and knock up cash, and there's different levels of difficulty that you can do each time you fight a boss. Like you can do the higher difficulty ones and make more money. So you can't just like farm the most money one. It disappears after you do it one time. But it gives you enough money to where you can just go around, like do it one time and then go do a couple other small things, and then you typically have enough for the boss fight. So the grind, not as bad as we thought it was gonna be, but it's still there because of course it is, because it's No More Heroes.
However, the most infamous grinding does come in the second half of the games, and we
don't. Yeah, that's
just
true.
got there. So because the amount of money you need to take on each boss increases every time. So we could come back after our next play session and be like, oh my god, the grind is terrible. And another thing that's making the grind not as bad for us is that they introduced this totally new thing in this game. It's the like sushi system. And there's these sushi stands set up all over the world, and there's a sushi stand outside of every boss room. But the sushi costs the same currency as the boss fights do. And it's like $3,500 for a plate of sushi. And we're like, we can't spend anything. So we're beating the entire game with 0 healing. Is basically
we're not buying any heal items. We're just relying on our skills to get us through these fights. And then if we can't do that, we'll just do the Wheel of Fortune over and over again. But making the expensive sushi the same currency as the money you need to grind to get into these boss fights is kind of stupid, because there's more than one type of currency in this game. And the other one you need is just the currency that you use, skill points, basically, to up your health bar, your attack power, crap like that, which seemingly makes very little difference, because I don't feel any more powerful than when we begun. So maybe it just scales really well to the progress of the game, but I really feel exactly the same. I really love the abilities. So Travis gets 4 different abilities. He starts with 1, but he progressively, and then he learns the other 3 at like the same time. So it's not like a progressive,
like an hour later.
It's weird. So, but these abilities are really fun, and they add a special layer of to the boss fights, where you can either summon like a rain of, I don't even know what to call it, like pixelated death. Yeah, like lasers. Like a rain of lasers. You can shove them away. You can slow down time in your immediate area. Or you can do like the first one, which was like a sweet drop kick, which does a lot of damage. So these, and you can upgrade the recharge time, because you can do them as many times as they recharge in the fight. And they're basically the most important things in beating these fights, because if you didn't have them, they'd be way harder. So I'm glad they added these special abilities, and I think they keep the flow of the fights going better than if they didn't have them.
Yeah, and the boss fights have been really good. So the theme of this one, it's just been like assassins in the first two, like the League of Assassins. But in this one, it's aliens that come and invade Earth, and you
Mhm.
need to take down the top 10 ranked aliens, basically. So it's set up exactly the same, but it's aliens this time. And the bosses are really, really cool. They still do that classic No More Heroes thing where you think you're going in to fight one boss. They have this epic intro cutscene, then they just get murdered by someone else who you then end up fighting, which is they do in every game, and it's hilarious. But the aliens are really cool. Just the style of the game is really cool. I've been very impressed with how smooth the battles do run. I thought it was going to be a slideshow, but the frame rate in the battles is like locked. Like it's solid 30. It's just the overworld where it is a slideshow. When you like do you use your boost on the bike and you go super fast, it is like 12 frames. Like it just drops. But the fights is what matters, and that's really good. I think we can talk a little bit about the presentation of this game because it's bonkers. It's one of the weirdest games I've ever played. Like before every boss fight, they play literally
Yeah.
an anime
So
intro, like a theme song.
yeah,
And
the way
then
this game is set up is like it's a TV show, like a 90s anime.
yeah, and
So
every every
time,
boss gets its own intro, and then after you kill it, like an anime credit scene plays with like the
yeah,
same anime credit outro song. Then they do like a cold open intro cutscene with the next boss you're gonna fight. Then they play the theme song again, and it's like No More Heroes
and
3,
the
and then
credits
you
change with the boss at the end, like
Oh.
featuring the voice
yeah
actor for this boss. And then, but the thing that really seals it is that after the credit scene, every time you beat a boss, there's like this little Netflix title card in the corner that's like next episode playing in 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, one
yeah
second. So it's completely aware that it's pretending to be a TV show. But I think that's really funny that it thinks it's a 90s
yeah
anime and that it presents itself as such because that gives the game a lot of unique style because nothing else really has done that. And I think it's actually really funny. But the credits and the end credits in the opening sequence, you kind of want to skip them because they're
So it's
like you
like a
do
regular
when you
show.
do watch an anime. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to watch the opening
uh-huh.
like every
Does it
time.
like because we've got the little thing like next episode playing? Do you also have skip intro like on Netflix or?
No, you don't have
Oh.
that. You
No, it
can
doesn't
skip
get
it,
to
but there's
that.
no like logo like there is
Oh.
like on actual streaming services. But yeah, it's just like super interesting style wise. They're just doing whatever the heck they want. There's this weird cutscene they have in every episode where like Travis and his friend are talking about Miike, like this Japanese filmmaker they're obsessed with, and you just are watching through this like fuzzy CRT TV as they sit there on their couch for like 2+ minutes at a time talking about like these obscure Japanese films, and it's like, why is this in here? Like it's just so wild. And I like that something like this exists. Like most of what I play is like really polished AAA stuff. So to play just something that's super jank and super weird and different is cool. I don't know if I'd recommend it if you haven't played and liked the first two. Like, because it's like if you're just coming into this, you're like, this is a $60 AAA action game I'm spending my money on. You probably will think it's really bad. But having gone back and experienced the first two and now playing this one, it's a fun series to be in on. I think.
I guess it's a good thing then that they re-released the first two
Yeah.
games so that you can go do that instead of just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, if you want to play it, go pick them up on Wii or something.
Yeah.
Definitely a
like that.
So I-
smart move.
I can't really disagree with the reviews that say it's not very good because I don't really know if it is. Like but it's fun.
I still
Like,
love
I'm
it.
having a great time.
Yeah.
But it's so much like the first two. Like if it wasn't in HD, you could have told me this came out 10 years ago and it was just a part of the trilogy. Like if they were just all three on Wii, just back to back to back, and I would have believed you because it fits right in with the other two.
Good to see they haven't really progressed since the Wii days
Kind of.
10 years ago.
It's weird because they kind of backtracked because in the first game you had the overworld with the motorbike where you actually had to drive around and find stuff. In the second game it was just a mini map that you could teleport like around. And now it's like a weird mix with an overworld and a mini map that you can teleport around. I wish they had just put more into it. It's very bare bones. It just feels like they didn't have enough time to do or enough, power on the Switch to really maximize its potential because it just feels like it's missing a lot.
Yeah. Was it?
But some games on Switch look a lot better than this game.
So it's
I would hope so.
it's not, you would think that it's not the Switch's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
Was it worth the very long wait of this game never getting a release date for the longest time?
Oh yeah, I think we had a great day with it so far. We just met up for
Yep.
one day so far and played it, and it was a good marathon. I mean, it's weird because like I've been saying, it doesn't feel new. Like it feels like it's another old game that Zach finally bought on eBay that we're playing now. Like it doesn't feel like this just came out. But I like it for that almost. Like it's like I said, it's just really different experience that I'm enjoying.
From
I
hearing
was gonna
that,
have
yeah,
more,
I can
more
get
heroes.
that, what, 4 out of 10 that GameSpot gave it? Or
It's
something like that.
I don't think it's
understandable.
that bad.
It's
I
not.
think it's like a
It's by
6
no
out of
means that bad.
10. Yeah, I think yeah.
I mean,
But
if you're expecting a game that's not a
it's
decade
good.
old to come out in
Yeah.
2021.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hey, if it's for the fans who've been waiting for it for a decade, or new fans that have been waiting for it for, what, a year?
And who's been waiting for this game for a decade? My God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Wonder if it's worth it for them, those people that played the originals way back in the day.
Probably.
The diehards,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if it channels the spirit of the first 2 games, I would assume they'd be really happy with it. But
Oh yeah, I think if you're a big No More Heroes fan, you're really, really happy with this game. Like it's pulling characters from the first 2, and like this game takes place like 10 years later, like time passed in the real world, like it did in the game. And they're like, there's like this little girl who's like a fan of Travis in the second game, and she's like back as like a full-grown adult in this game. And it's like, who is that? And then Zach was like, oh, it's this person. I'm like, I barely even remember them, but they are pulling from the deepest corners of this franchise for this game. So it's definitely a sequel. I feel like sometimes after a series is gone for so long and then it comes back, sometimes they try to like do their own thing because so many people haven't played the originals at this point. But this game's like, no, like it's just picking up right where the series left off a decade ago, which is really cool.
cooler than if they just did No More Heroes reboot and called it No More Heroes, and
Yeah. Oh god, No More Heroes 2021.
yeah, No More Heroes Switch or something. Yeah, I was
But
gonna
the
have
combat's still good. I think that's kind of the big takeaway. Is I really still like the combat. I think it's really fun. We're playing with the split Joy-Con, so it's just like the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, where you like
Still have
swipe a
to
different
waggle
direction.
to recharge your
Yeah.
sword.
Oh, it still
Miss
has
the
motion
waggle.
controls. Or it does.
Yep.
have motion. It does.
It
Yeah.
does.
It does.
Yeah.
The response.
Then you swipe.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah,
Seems
they're
perfectly fine to me. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good.
Can be hit or miss with the Switch sometimes with the motion.
Some
controls,
Switch
so-
Motion Plus on there.
Yeah.
Gonna
Need a new Wii Remote with that. You guys are gonna have it beat by next week?
no.
No, because we're not meeting up again for a little
Couple
while
more
to
weeks,
play it,
probably.
So.
Okay, so I guess we'll have to wait
Yep.
for the final.
Which is
thoughts
sad
on
'cause I
No More
wanna play
Heroes
it.
3.
I want to play it
We,
so bad.
I knew Zach would be tempted to play it without me, so we played it on his Switch, and then he took his Switch home, but I kept the cartridge, so we have split up
Wow.
the save file and the cartridge.
You really had to go that far, huh?
Yep.
I want to play it so bad.
Yeah.
Zach
But I think
Can't be
that's all
trusted.
my
I get
thoughts.
it. I get that I can't be trusted, and I understand. Oh. Great game, though.
All right. Well,
Does say something that I really want to play it.
that's good. Well, I'm looking forward to final thoughts on that. If there's a crazy grind or not at the end, I'll be curious to hear about that.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
All right. Do we want to get into the news? I feel like there's not too much going on this week. What
Bit
do
of
you
a
got,
slow
Logan?
week.
No. Yeah, we'll just talk about a few smaller things here. First, we got a report that the Yakuza and Monkey Ball creator Toshihiro Nagoshi is in final negotiations to leave Sega and go to NetEase. So what do we think
What
of that?
is that?
Kevin?
What is NetEase?
Oh, they're. I get them mixed up with Tencent a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah,
do they
they're
do a lot of mobile stuff? NetEase?
yes, they do a lot of mobile games in China
Okay.
mostly. Yeah. And they have a partnership with Activision and Blizzard to run like World of Warcraft, Overwatch, StarCraft in China.
Okay.
What would he be working on?
Well, it sounds like he'd be getting his own like studio and be able to develop whatever he wants. So,
Trust him.
he's run the gambit of Monkey Ball to Yakuza. He's got like a wide
Yeah.
range in between those two properties that maybe he could work with.
I would love to see a mixture. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm more so wondering where that's gonna leave the Yakuza series, because sometimes, like, I guess with Monkey Ball, he made the first two, and then he kind of left. He left to go
And
work
went
on
in the
Yakuza.
toilet.
Then it got
Yeah,
got bad.
and he's been with Yakuza, and he's been at the head of it for the longest time. He's been part of all of the showcases. He has been at the forefront of all of these games. So
They've all been good.
and they have all been good. But if he leaves, I
All
do
gonna be
wonder
bad.
where that leaves the series. Like, they have more to go off of. Monkey Ball was only 2 games, whereas Yakuza, you have 7 mainline games, a couple of spin-offs, and the 2 Judgment games. So there's more to work with there.
Yeah.
But still, I am worried about what happens next, because they have just gone into a very different direction with Like a Dragon. And then if your creator leaves, I don't know, just like, where does that leave the next couple of games? And we already know that the Judgment is kind of up in the air with the whole thing with PC and the talent agency. So there's kind of a lot of moving parts here that I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah, but you'd think there's some other producers or creative leads on the team too that could probably take the reins. Because, like,
I'm sure.
I don't know, with Monkey Ball, the failure was from a gameplay perspective. And I feel like there's been so many games in the Yakuza series that probably wouldn't happen. So it's like, can they get, like, the tone and story right? And I feel like there's been enough games where there's got to be some people who've been around for a lot of them, right?
I hope he would have some sort of say in who replaces him, so he's able to put some faith into someone to take over the reins of this series, so it doesn't completely drop off. So hopefully it gets left in good hands. I'm sure there's some viable candidates currently working at the studio, like you said.
Well, and it's very important for Sega to get this right. I mean, Yakuza has had a resurgence since Zero. It's one of their biggest properties.
A bit.
Like,
yeah,
I feel like they really need to pick the right person to take over after him. But it's also just kind of weird. I mean, he's been at Sega since 1989. Like, that is
crazy.
A long time.
That's older than all of
30
us
years,
combined.
32 years at the company and moving on now. Yeah, once it seems like this is basically inevitable to be happening, to go to NetEase. I'll be curious to see what the next couple of Yakuza games look like without him.
It'll be a while before we
also,
see.
I mean, it's more so been with the Japanese audience, but he has also been, like, the face of a lot of the promotional material, or the promotional videos that they do on YouTube. And even more recently with Lost Judgment, he was right there. So I'm wondering who will replace him and who will replace that presence that he had, because it wasn't just like, oh, he created the series. He was kind of the face of it too. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I'm still bummed about the whole Judgment news, that this is probably going to be the last entry from what we've heard. That's just a big bummer for me.
Yeah, well, and it means that they got to come up with something else, because I really want to have the brawler alongside the RPG. I don't want them to just move the RPG completely. I want to have back and forth. If they have to come up with another new series or make a Judgment with a new main character, I don't know.
Just make Kaito the main character, because he's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that's soon, though. That's in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, coming out soon.
We're all going to be talking about it.
Yeah, and Hello Kitty is the latest character to join Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania for $5.
Actually, oh my God, why $5?
Yeah, who's paying $5 for Hello Kitty? Are there
Not me.
Are there big Hello Kitty / Monkey Ball?
Probably in
fans
Japan.
I'll do it.
Maybe, yeah. It's got to be the weirdest one so far.
Hello Kitty, yeah. It is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most of the other things have been in-house, like a Sega property or like Sega Atlas.
Yeah, I think all of them.
And then it's just like Hello Kitty.
I mean, yeah, the consoles are a little weird, but other than that.
And again, the whole pricing thing of, like, some of these are free and some of them aren't is so confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kiryu's free, but Morgana and Hello Kitty aren't. Oh, it's weird.
Yeah.
Oh man, that game.
That game's soon too. That
I'm
game
very
is also
excited
soon.
to hear you talk about it on this show.
It's gonna be fun. Kevin, more Saints Row footage was shown off after the initial teaser trailer, and what happened to the reaction on the internet after this new footage, Kev?
It's still not great. I think it was a little bit better than the original trailer, just because that was CG with like 10 seconds of gameplay at the end. This one showed off some more gameplay, It highlighted some of the gangs that you're going to see in the game. There's the military gang, or military group, I guess, conglomerate or something. And then there's like kind of more of like the group that we saw in the CG trailer, and they have kind of like what is it? More like not futuristic, but I don't even know what you call it. They're the people with like the masks and stuff and the the tech masks, like Watch Dogs 2. It kind of reminds me more of the Saints Row 3 gangs that they had there, where they had like one in the city, they had just like one going through the city. There was the futuristic group, and then there was kind of the conglomerate. It's very similar to that. But I think it was just nice to see more of the gameplay, because I think that's what people needed to see. The characters, I'm still not sold on them. The other thing that they did show off, which was very nice, was that character customization is back. There was a section where they had the character like coming into a bar or something, and it showed off like 10 different like possible skins that you could make. So that was really nice. I still don't really get why they're showcasing the lead voice actress for the boss so much, because you can customize it to such a degree and probably has so many different voice actors. Like in previous Saints Row, there was like 8 different voices you could have had. There was like 4 male, 4 female, and then like a zombie voice or something. It's really stupid. But like there was a ton of different voices. So I felt like it was kind of weird to be like highlighting, oh, here's the boss character, and then get people confused like, oh, is there character customization of the boss? And then we saw here that it was in fact back. And more that I'm hearing is that people who got to see the extended gameplay demo were even more impressed with it, which makes me even more curious why they didn't show it off, because that original trailer got so much heat when it first came out. Yeah, I think it's going to take a long time for people to warm up to the main cast. I mean, the original cast of Saints Row has been around for all the games, and you're going to have to get used to the new cast. But I think what they showed off with the gameplay looks really good. Looks like a return to Saints Row 2-3 style, where it's like crazy but not over the top. Some of the old side activities are coming back, like insurance fraud, which was one of the best ones. Hopefully they bring some more back from Saints Row 2. That one had the best. But from seeing this, it was nice to have some extra confirmation of certain things, because after that original trailer, there was a lot of questions that weren't really answered.
Let me ask you something. So all the hatred for this game, this trailer that dropped on YouTube has 11,000 likes and 19,000 dislikes.
The ratio.
That's crazy. And
bad.
Most of the negative reaction from people here, at least, is complaining about the character design, saying they look like hipsters, or like they look like Google employees, or, oh, you need to skip class to steal a rocket launcher. How much does that matter in Saints Row? Because to me, I look at Saints Row and it's like, you want to do crazy stuff and drive around and blow stuff up.
Yeah, I guess it's people are just really attached to those old characters. And the problem is that no matter... I guess the real problem is people were like, they really wanted that very stereotypical gangster style from Saints Row 1 and 2 to come back. But the thing that I didn't really understand about that sentiment was that Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4 already left that. Like, after Saints Row 2, they moved on from that gangster style and moved towards, like, the crazy, zany, and then these people are more so, like, larger-than-life characters rather than just these, like, gangsters in the streets. So we've already kind of moved on from that, and we also don't know how these characters are going to grow and change, because we've seen them kind of at the start, and the whole point of the game is that you're self-made, and that you're, like, building up to it. And the other thing people were like is, where's the purple? Where's the Saints Row purple? Which was apparently a big deal. And then what it came out was that the purple comes back when they start to kind of build up their identity, because they aren't the Saints yet. So, but they didn't show that off, so most people didn't really see that. I think people are just very attached to that old style and don't want things to change. And then there's some of the people that probably take offense to some stupid offense to who the characters are, the female lead or something. I don't know. Some people are like that. But yeah, I think once the game comes out, then we can see how these characters grow and change. And hopefully by the end of the game, they have kind of become like a new Saints Row crew. We don't know too much about them. It's only been 2 trailers. But as we all know from internet discourse, people will jump on this stuff super quick and kind of dogpile on it.
I think it looks good. I don't know. I liked what I saw of this new trailer.
Yeah, it's just a change, I think, and some people are having a hard time. And like you guys were talking about with No More Heroes, where that comes back after a decade and it's the same game, whereas this game comes back after almost a decade, 8 years, and they're trying to completely change it up. And whether or not you have a problem, whether or not you miss the old gangster style of these characters, I'd say wait until the game comes out and see how those characters play in action, how the boss is, how your main character is, and how they grow by the end of the game, and how they build the Saints up into this new group, and then kind of judge it from there. I feel like just from this trailer, it's way too early to judge.
And don't have to wait too long to find out. Coming out February,
Yeah,
5
it's
months
pretty soon.
away.
Yeah, I appreciated that it wasn't like a very teasery trailer and being like 2022 or coming soon or something.
Mm-hmm.
They actually gave us a confirmed release date. I am cautiously
I'll be busy
optimistic.
playing Elden Ring though.
Oh yeah, big one. Yeah,
I will not.
I mean,
I
there's
will
a
not be
lot coming
playing
out
Elden
that
Ring.
month. It's
There is.
gonna be a busy month. I mean, Horizon, right? Horizon's right there.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I'm going to play that's coming out in that stretch.
But that's like within like a week of Saints Row.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see more, and I'm hoping that the gameplay that they showed off that people are so enamored with that the rest of us didn't get to see will get shown off soon, and that some people will hopefully be a little bit more optimistic about the game's launch in February.
Moving on from that, Naughty Dog, two heads from the company, the co-presidents, Evan Wells and Ruckman, did an interview with Game Informer where they talked about a lot of things. They're hiring for their new multiplayer game, presumably going to be whatever The Last of Us Part 2's multiplayer has grown into as its own standalone thing. They also said they're still dedicated to single-player games. But an interesting part of this interview is they talked about what they're doing at Naughty Dog to fix their crunch issues, and their answers, or may I say non-answers, I think they really had a chance to come out and look good in this interview. And they basically said, putting hour limits don't work. To make the game good, you got to put in the extra time. And we haven't thought about unions, but don't think that they would work. Those are basically the big takeaways on what they said about crunch in this interview.
Quote where they were like, about that like limit of 40 hours a week, they're like, oh, there's a bunch of people that really want to come in late and keep working on the game, and we'd have to turn them away. And it's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's the problem here?
And even if that were the case, I saw this really smart thread on Twitter about this. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, but basically they talked about when one ambitious person wants to put in more than 40 hours, say there's like a quest they want to add or something, that then puts extra work on every other team that works on the game. Because if someone like scripts out this quest, then they have to animate it and do all these things and record voice acting lines for it and program it into the game. And that one person's ambition to do that almost requires that everyone else do that too. So it's not that simple. And yeah, I was not the most optimistic about the answers here. And
yeah, it was really frustrating. I really didn't like that whole thought of, like, they were like, oh, unions would just be like a Band-Aid or something like that. And it's like, well, you guys have done nothing at all. One, I think unions are much better than a Band-Aid, as you would say. I think that would not only give employees more bargaining power, better hours, like all of these things, but yeah, it would help the crunch. But beyond that, you're already not doing anything. So even if it was just a Band-Aid, it's something, right?
Yeah.
Because the other ideas that you've put forth is literally nothing.
And I will say, though, that we don't know what it's actually like at Naughty Dog. We just see what the reports are. And there were a few Naughty Dog employees who took to Twitter after the backlash to this interview and did say, hey, things have gotten a lot better since all that stuff came out during the development of The Last of Us Part 2. And that there is more effort being made within the company than was portrayed in that interview. So there is something to that. Obviously, we don't know what it's really like in there. But just based on what the presidents of the company had a chance to say it from their own mouths, not having to have their own employees come out and defend them, I don't think it was a great look.
No. But they could have
Yeah,
done
I think if
go ahead, Zach.
Just thinking that if anyone should be tuned into how this office is running in terms of crunch culture, it should be the presidents. And if they're leaving all of this to, HR or something else, that they really need to be a little more focused on what's going on. Because they were obviously caught off guard when these questions were asked during the interview, and they didn't really know. They were just kind of scrambling for some sort of answer, but they obviously didn't really know too detailed about what's going on.
Yeah. Or you could be like CD Projekt Red, where they're like, we're not gonna crunch, and then like 8 months later, when Cyberpunk is on fire, they're like, time to crunch, everybody. Here we go.
All right. Messed up.
Because when you have these executives, even if they do say like, we are not doing crunch, you really take that with a massive grain of salt, because once that game is close to ship date, the odds of them seemingly having to crunch goes way up.
Yeah.
But would have appreciated the sentiment. This was not a great look.
Yeah. And then our last quick story here for the day. There's rumors that Game Boy and Game Boy Color would switch online. This is from a data mine from stuff a few months ago, so nothing super new that's happening now, like of an impending direct or anything. But this could be a thing that happens. I mean, makes sense. We'll see. N64 games they can repackage and sell still to you. So it makes sense that they'd want to go the Game Boy route for the free ad. But I think that'd be a good library to add on there for free. Like, Game Boy Color games are kind of hard to come by. So I think that would be a cool library of stuff that's on there for free. Like the Zelda games.
Yeah, Zelda games.
Mario games on Game Boy.
Mario Tennis. Get a good
Golf.
RPG Mario Tennis on there, please. Yeah.
So that'd be
Just
cool.
A more robust library in there that I probably wouldn't play because I already don't play the NES or the SNES.
Yeah.
But
Game Boy Color would be cool.
Honestly, if Game Boy Color came back and somehow they put Mario Tennis in there, I'd probably go back and play it because I have very formative memories of playing that game as a kid.
The Pokemon games?
But
that would be huge.
Would they do that?
I don't know.
Because they're already
Probably not.
re-released on 3DS, right?
Yeah.
Also, did you see that they're getting, because the gambling is still in those older games, that they're getting like a PEGI 18 rating or something?
What?
For the Pokemon games, because
Fire Red and
simulated
Leaf
gambling is in there.
In which ones?
In Red and Blue or Gen 1 or Gen 2, the Game Boy Color
Yes.
games.
In what is it, Celadon City, where there's
In the
like
casino?
the fourth gym, there's a casino in there that you can actually gamble in, right?
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous.
I know. I
So,
completely forgot
that's
The
about that.
headline:
Ridiculous.
Pokemon would be rated 18 plus under current video game age rating guidelines. Because I guess they recently announced changing rules around the depiction of gambling, and then all the people on the
Interesting.
internet took that and was like, okay, so you can have FIFA where you're gambling real money, and that's PEGI 3, but if you're gambling in-game currency, which you cannot convert into real life money, that's PEGI 18.
Wow, interesting. I should probably revise the language on that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd put that on there, because I feel like they want to re-release those because they know a lot of people would buy them, but
They're not putting anything good on those.
yeah.
Just the garbage.
No, they put in like 5 good titles to get you in, and then all the new ones are like, hey, here's
Mountain
this like
garbage.
random game that you have never heard of in your life.
Yeah, I don't know, because there's a lot of NES and SNES games on 3DS that are also on the Switch service now. So I don't feel like that would stop them. Just I wonder if they're like, then people won't buy the remakes if we release the originals, but I don't even think that's true.
The
I
People
remakes
buy
of
that's the
anything
case,
Pokemon no matter what. Like if they were to remake like Gold.
okay, yeah. I guess if they did like the Let's Go Johto games or something, and they had Gold
Yeah.
and Silver on there,
But I don't know. I don't
People
really
buy
think that would
Pokemon games
deter people.
regardless.
Yeah, no matter what.
it'll still
matter-
sell.
but
at
not
least
me
15
anymore.
million.
Yeah.
You lost one.
14.99 million.
Yeah, because you account for 0.1 million copies. How many of those were you buying?
Too many. I was buying the double pack that cost a penny more than buying them separately.
That's what we call a good business move right there.
Yep.
It's the
And a
extra
extra
cent
penny
that you
for that
pay
cardboard
the,
box.
the cardboard. It's collectible.
Yeah. That's garbage.
So good.
Okay. That's it for the news this week.
All right. Zach?
All right, that's going to do it for what has been going on in the news this week. We'll move on to what we've been playing. Already talked quite a bit about No More Heroes 3, the big release, but there's been a couple other things. We'll start with Kevin, who has not been playing No More Heroes 3.
No, I'm not.
Been playing more Xenoblade.
I'm almost done. I got to a
So
point where I
close.
thought I was at the final boss, but it's a JRPG. So I really should have known that this was not the
I'm
final
gonna trust
boss.
the credits. There's
There
like credits
are
is the halfway
more.
point.
There's a lot more. But I am like 99% sure I'm in the last area and heading to the final main boss of the game.
Okay.
So hopefully I'll have it done by next week and finally be able to talk about that. And then I forgot, they've also got the epilogue in the definitive edition.
Future Connected?
So the game doesn't end. Once I'm done with this, there's another 8 or 9
Keeps going.
hours of the epilogue. But it's still really good. The story is really kicked into overdrive and has gotten real wacky with what's happening. Did not
Cool.
see a lot of this stuff coming near the end of the game. So I'm excited to see how it all wraps up with the final boss. Yeah, that's really all I'll say, because at this point it is more so just story stuff. But from what I've played, I can highly recommend it. Very good JRPG. And then I played the WarioWare demo for a bit. Zach, you also
Tell
played
us
it as
about
well?
it. Yeah, I played it with Logan. We took a little bit of a break from No More Heroes, and we decided to put a little time on the multiplayer for the new WarioWare demo, because this was my first experience, and he had already tried out the demo, so we got a chance to play it together. I have not played it alone, so I can't attest for how it is alone, but it's stressful together, and I assume it's even more stressful alone. But the demo has 15 different little mini games, about 15 different little mini games, and the actual release is going to have 200 games. So this is a very small snippet of what the game is. But these 15 mini games, even though they were recycling over and over, I never really got tired of them, though, because you don't really know what's going to come up, and you got to be prepared for anything. So I thought they were all really good, and the variation of all the characters that are available in the demo, I liked pretty much all of them for the most part. There were a couple who were obviously less good, and there were characters that were obviously the best. Like Orbulon is the best character by far, I would say. And then I think 18 Volt was one of my favorites. I think that's what his name is. But the character, the differentiation of the characters, and every levels so far has been crazy unique. So it seems like a really fun game. And after you get past 35 levels, it ramps up something fierce.
Quick, yeah.
And it's hard to maintain control. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it was fun. I played it 2-player as well with my girlfriend, and yeah, I was impressed at how they were able to keep those games pretty fresh by kind of either for some of the games changing what you had to do, in the sense of there's one where it's you have to grab a certain amount of items or pop a certain amount of things, but it changes how many you have to do, and so you have to pay attention to 6 of these, and if you just blast through, you lose that mini game. And of course, as you keep going, it gets faster and faster. And then the variations of the characters I think is a really clever idea to make it super fresh. Of just each game can be played in different ways, as many characters as they are. For each character, there's a different way to play that mini game, and that always made it fun to be I'm playing this one, but I'm a new character now, so how do I have to do it this time, or how do I have to switch things up? And the quickness of the mini games keeps you on your toes. So even if you know what the game is and you're kind of expecting it, it can still kind of catch you off guard with certain things, which does keep it very fresh. Yeah, I may pick it up at some point. It's a good time.
No, I was really wanting to play a WarioWare for a long time, and this being my first experience, I'm even more interested in picking it up once it comes out. So
next week,
forward to hearing more about that in the near-ish future. I'm sure someone's gonna pick it up. Is anyone
pre-ordered?
Yeah,
pre-ordered?
I know one of us is playing it.
Guaranteed to have Logan's impressions on the full game once it comes out. So look forward to hearing about that. What else have you been playing, Logan? Anything else other than No More Heroes 3, WarioWare DLC?
DLC?
Yes, did demo.
Demo. It is.
Oh,
I guess
man,
everything's
DLC
DLC.
before the
alluded
game
to what
comes
you've been
out.
playing. Some sort of DLC, maybe.
I completed the Great Ace Attorney 2, so I'm now done with the Chronicles collection.
Is it the number one Ace Attorney
And
game?
what'd you say?
Is it the number one Ace Attorney game?
Yeah,
Ace
it
Attorney?
is.
It is.
And I don't even think it's close.
Wow.
It is so freaking good. I can't even believe how much I loved it just from start to finish. The last case was really, really good, and some of the revelations were just pretty mind blowing. So I really loved it, and I love the characters. Like I don't think we're gonna get it, but I want more games in the Great Ace Attorney universe. I want a third one.
Does it wrap
Like
up?
these-
Like, is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it wraps up really nicely. Like there's no loose threads. Like, but they could totally just make another game with these characters with a fresh story, and it would be awesome. So I love the cast. The second game is just so smart, just the twists and turns and just the stuff that it introduces all the way in like the first or second case of the first game that isn't resolved till the very end of the 2-game collection. It's like a 40-hour visual novel, just such an investment, and yeah, it's excellent. Number one in the series. I'm gonna replay the series though. We'll see if that stands, but I think it for sure will. There's always some recency bias right after you finish something like this, but just reflecting on how good every single case was. Yeah, it's the last case wasn't like the best last case. Like I said, the second case and the third case were like the best they've ever been. The last case I don't think quite reached the highs because it's interesting because a lot of the times in Ace Attorney they don't throw anything at you until everything is revealed in the final case, and that's what makes it so good. But here it's like they're revealing just major plot points throughout every case. So that's why the last case didn't hit as high as they usually do, but it was still really good, really satisfying. Awesome. 10 out of 10. Great Ace Attorney 2. Great Ace Attorney 1, like a 7 out of 10. Collection overall, 9 out of 10. Great
Right.
stuff. Game of the year. Nothing's going to pass it no matter what. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, okay, geez. A lot of year left. Don't know.
Halo
WarioWare?
Infinite with no co-op.
Halo
Yeah.
Infinite.
Yeah,
Yes, Halo
it's
Infinite.
awesome. Worth the 5-year wait for these games to come over here.
A long wait.
Yeah.
Guess
Now
that
it's-
second trilogy. That's all that's left. Oh, and I guess Miles Edgeworth.
The second trilogy is we're not waiting for anything.
I want it re-released on Switch, or I'm not playing it.
Okay. Wow.
I would also
That's
appreciate
fair.
that trilogy and the other the other stragglers that haven't made
Yeah.
it haven't made it to current consoles / over to the West.
Yeah. Oh, I got my fan translated copy of the DS cartridge of the second Miles Edgeworth game.
Is that we
I
talking
don't
about
know
that
if
before?
I said on the show that I bought that.
No, I don't think we did.
Yeah. Yeah, because I played that on like a PC on like a ROM, but someone like burned the fan translation onto a cart that works on the DS. So now I have like a physical copy of it, and I put it in the box of the Japanese version that Kevin got me when he came back like 2 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
briefly before going back.
Yep.
So I'm on the way to a complete physical collection, and now
Nice.
Kevin has the last 2 I need
Yep. Got
waiting
him.
for me in Japan.
We'll be back with you at some point. Yeah. I'm very excited to play that second game once Xenoblade's done. I'm trying to like check these things off before these new big
Yeah.
games are coming out. Like Xenoblade, once I started playing it again, I'm like, I've got to beat this. Because once all this other stuff comes out, it's dangerous. I may just drop it.
Yeah.
But once I'm done with that, got to get back to Ace Attorney. And then, yeah, Lost Judgment is looming. So,
I'm excited for that because I only beat the game today, but I'm in such a hangover, and all I want is something like Ace Attorney and Judgment this week.
yeah, there
Judgment's
you
in 3 weeks,
go.
and the story was really good in the first one, and it was very Ace Attorney like. So I'm very excited for that game now.
That game's going to be good. Anything else, Logan?
I played Splitgate a little bit. It's that first-person shooter that also has portals. It was pretty cool. It's on Game Pass. It was fun. But the bigger thing is Ghost of Tsushima, Iki Island. I've just started it, so we're gonna go to Zach here in a second, who has finished it in
Finished
classic
it.
Zach fashion. But
It's
yeah,
not
I played
long.
like 45 minutes of it. Really beautiful.
Almost
Haven't
done.
paid for the PS5 upgrade.
Was that $30 instead of 20?
$30, yeah.
I would not
And
say this DLC is worth $30. I would say it's about $20 worth. I would not say it's $30 worth.
The haptics in the DualSense are cool, and the game does look and run better. The
Yeah.
load times were already non-existent. Now they're even more non-existent. Like, it's insane. So it's whatever. But yeah, just really cool to be back in that world. I got that new move, like charge with the horse and just plow through groups of guys and knock them down. It's really cool. I like that. But yeah, I want to hear Zach's full thoughts on it.
Focus on the horse. What's your horse's name?
Kage.
Okay, mine's Kaze, so it's similar, but
Okay, yeah.
Wind v Shadow. All right, so I did beat technically this DLC. I did the main story quests. It was not particularly long. I beat it in 2 sittings. I didn't really track how many hours it was, but it wasn't very many. It couldn't have been in more than 3 to 5 hours, I would say, is how long it took me to beat the main story quests.
So long
On Iki Island.
That was a full game.
Oh, geez. That is a full game right there. But
Yikes.
I think that overall the story quests that it focused on were very strong. It did harken back to some stuff that was touched upon in the main story, so it isn't entirely separate. It just is focusing on a new tribe of Mongols that come into Iki Island, so Jin has to go there to stop the Mongols so they don't make it to Tsushima. He just goes there to stop them, but there's a lot of history on the island relating to him and his father. So that's basically what the main story focuses on, is his relationship to his father. And there's a lot of flashbacks, and all of that stuff is focused on. So it's actually really good. I like that that's where it takes the story. It didn't feel separate. It actually felt like it fit, and it was a good addition to the already existing story. It didn't feel really unnecessary at all. So that was great. I forgot how to play the game immediately, so it took me a little bit of time to get back into it. It's a bit complex of a system. There's a lot going on, so if you're out of it for a while, there's a lot of it that you can just forget how to do. After a couple fights, I was back into it, and like Logan said, they do throw some new techniques at you pretty early on into the DLC, like the horse charge. To recover your horse on the island, you learn a charge technique where you can just plow over enemies, so you don't even have to get off your horse to fight hordes of enemies now, which is nice. And then other than that, there's not a lot of new fighting techniques you learn, but there are new additions to the islands, like the little mini objectives and quests that you can do. Like you can now go to animal shrines and play your flute, where you actually have to motion your controller up and down to stay in line, so you have a light indicator on the screen that moves with the motion of your controller, and you just have to stay in line like a rhythm game as a track comes at you on the screen. So that's super cool. There's archery challenges now, which I think are nice. I feel very stupid because I was doing these archery challenges, and it's like, okay, you have to beat them in under 20 seconds to get a bronze medal, under 15 seconds to get a silver medal, and under 7 seconds to get a gold medal. And I was doing it, and I was hitting like 16 seconds every time. I'm like, how on earth are you supposed to do this in under the amount of time I'm doing it? And I realized only earlier today that Jin can slow down time when he's aiming the bow, which is like a major technique. I completely forgot about it. I forgot, because that's the problem with coming back to these games after so long, that you just forget about techniques that exist. So I was just sitting there racking my brain like, I'm never going to be able to do this. And now I just realized that I could have been doing it the whole time pretty easily. So I felt a little bit stupid about that, but still,
it's like when you
at
didn't
least
reload in Uncharted. I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, the Uncharted. Yeah, so there's.
Oh my god!
Yeah, the records that you can see whenever you play the original Uncharted trilogy in the first Uncharted game. I just never reloaded the gun for whatever reason. I would just wait until the clip emptied, and then he would just auto reload, I guess.
Man, you are
so
unbelievable.
In the second and third game, I reloaded all the time, I think.
Especially unbelievable in the last segment of that game when you're fighting the new enemy type.
Yeah.
Like, how did you not reload during that?
Oh no. Okay, you can't just throw something at me like that.
Getting the self-inflicted handicaps there.
Yeah. So, and it's always with ranged weapons. I guess I'm more of a sword guy, but
guess so.
And then other than that, I haven't really delved into the whole island. There's lot still left to do. A lot of collectibles, a lot of little areas to liberate.
You
Which I
gonna get
think
all
I
the
liberated
trophies?
all the areas.
You gonna get them all? Because you got the
I
platinum
think
in the base game, right?
exactly. Yeah, I've got the platinum, so I think I might as well go the extra mile to get all the trophies. It's always fun to play more Ghost of Tsushima. I'm never having a bad time. It's a really great game, and the gameplay always feels great, especially with the fast travel. It's easy to go around and get all the collectibles. So it was a particularly fun game to platinum. So I'd be more than willing to go around. And this island, I think, is probably the most beautiful thing in this game so far, which is saying a
Nice.
lot. I love the aesthetic of this island. It's very cool. I know, especially the places where the main missions take you, and even I did the Mythic Tales. They take you to some really unique and cool areas. So I think this DLC has really hit what it needed to hit, and glad that it wasn't just a bunch of unnecessary stuff. That it's actually a pretty great addition to already an amazing game, and it just feels good to be back in it.
Nice. I'll play it at some point. I'll get there.
Yeah.
PS5.
Logan,
Yeah.
got to play it. Wish I was playing on the
Logan,
PS5. I need that haptic feedback.
You gonna have time in between all these games to crank that one out?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's
In between
my
playing all
primary
of the
game
Ace
right now.
Attorneys.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna try. I gotta try and knock it out because WarioWare is after that, so I gotta try and knock it out quick.
Yeah, and then Lost Judgment.
But it
comes
seems
out
short.
after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of DLC. How a lot of DLCs are not super long.
Yep.
At least it's not charged full game or near full game, like
That's true.
Miles Morales was. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up this week?
I hope we're talking about a Nintendo Direct on next week's show.
Yeah, there's rumors of that, isn't there?
Possibility.
Yeah.
We're talking
next
about the
week.
final Smash character next week.
Sports story.
Me too.
Nope.
Please.
I don't even have hope for that.
Yeah.
Hope has died.
Have they posted anything since those like two?
No.
The
think
post
so.
of like, we're back. Here's the start. You're gonna have to do wall ball or something, and then it's just nothing.
Gone. Yeah.
We're gone.
That's great.
Nope.
Well, if it happens, I'm hoping, fingers crossed for more sports story. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see for next week. But as for this week, that is going to do it for us on this week's episode of Ode to Games. We're here on Thursdays or Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, other podcast streaming services that you may use. OdeGames.com also has the audio version of the podcast, so you can check it out there. The video version is up on YouTube every week at Ode to Games, so you can check out the video version there. We're on Twitter at Ode to Games, Twitch Ode to Games as well. You can send an email to odegamescast@gmail.com. For Logan and Zach, I'm Kevin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week.